With all the media and technology at adolescents' disposal nowadays, have you ever considered the detrimental effects it may have on them? Today's adolescents spend an average of more than 7 hours a day on media. I am here to inform you of those detrimental effects and why they should be closely monitored. I have been doing research on this topic and gained insight on it from a numerous number of scholarly sources that can provide studies to support my claims. Technology and media makes adolescents more aggressive, sexually active, and also has negative effects on their overall personal health. First, adolescent exposure to violent video games and television makes the adolescent more hostile and more aggressive. Researchers believe that exposure to violence can lead to aggressiveness, desensitization, and more risky behavior, according to Pedia Digest. More than 50% of all video games today contain some sort of violence. Dr. Boxer of Rutgers University conducted a study with a sample of 800 adolescents and interviewed them in order to gain insight on their prior exposure to violent media and their own behaviors. It was concluded that exposure to violent media had a positive correlation with increased violent and delinquent behavior. If you look at the chart I have provided, here in green is the correlation that media violence and aggression has with a 0.31 coefficient. And in comparison is the correlation that smoking and lung cancer has with 0.39, which is relatively close to each other. Dr. Dunn and Hummer of Indiana University conducted a study on the effects of violent video games and on cognitive inhibition. It was found that those who played violent video games had a lower response in the right dorsolateral prefrontal cortex when responding. This part of the brain controls executive function, including unwanted thoughts and behaviors. So if their part of the brain that controls those behaviors are weakened by these video games, they're more susceptible to committing more risky behavior and being more aggressive. After discussing how exposure to violence affects adolescents' attitudes, let's look at how media affects personal health. Media has detrimental effects on the personal health of all adolescents. According to Pediatrics Digest, adolescents spend more than 7 hours a day on some sort of media device, as I mentioned earlier. Adolescents' bedrooms are now complete with media devices, and this contributes to that 7 hours a day. By 2005, two-thirds of all adolescents had a television set in their room. One half had a DVD player, and one-third had a computer of some sort. Television viewing and media use displaces physical activity overall. This distracts them from going out, playing with their friends, and engaging in sports and physical activity in general. Media also presents unrealistic expectations of self-image, and body dissatisfaction. A study showed that eating disorders dramatically increased after the introduction of American television programming. There is now more than 100 pro-anorexia websites also that are accessible to the public and also give advice and tips on the best ways to do that. After seeing the effects of personal health, let's look at how media affects sexual conduct in adolescents. Finally, exposure to sexual content affects adolescents' behaviors and attitudes. After a national survey consisting of 12 to 17-year-olds concluded that those who were exposed to heavy sexual content were twice as likely to get pregnant within the next 3 years compared to those who were not as exposed. And then this chart right here, this shows the number of sex-related scenes per hour by programs. All programs on average is 5. Prime time is 5.9, and then here, top teen programs is 6.7. So as you can see, teens are exposed to the most sexual content through their television programming. Studies have linked exposure to sexual content through mainstream media with increased sexual activity, more unplanned pregnancies, and an increase in sexually transmitted diseases. Media sends the message to adolescents that sex is normative and risk-free, which certainly is not the case. In a national sample of 1,500 10 to 17-year-olds, half of the sample admitted to being exposed to pornography through the internet also. Today I explained the detrimental effects that media and technology have on today's adolescents and our future. These are reasons exposure to these types of things must be informed to the parents and closely monitored. I thank you for your attention and hope that this was informative and enjoyable for you. I would now be more than happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you for your time.